What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. You know my name by now. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and today I'm showing you guys the top 10 comics in my collection. But first, I want to give a big shout out to Keston over at Keston's Old School Comics. Make sure you're subbed up to him because he recently put out a video of his top 25 comics. I commented on his video, it told me I should do the same, and here we are. I'm giving you 10 though, with one honorable mention. But before we get started in the video, I remind you guys, if you're not a current sub of the channel, do yourself a favor, hit that sub button for me and for Keston, and smash the like button as well. It does help the channel out. Quick side note, you have seen some of these books before, but I have sprinkled in a few new ones as well. Let's get into it. Why don't we start it off with an honorable mention? And here we have He-Man and the Power Sword, Masters of the Universe mini comic. Now this one is the one that started all for comics. For He-Man, was included with the first run of the original 1980s toy line. Now, I know you guys have seen this one before. I actually covered it on my weekly top 10 runners up list. We had a 9.8 copy of this book that sold for $5 grand not too long ago. So when I saw that sale, I'm like, you know what? Let me try to see if I could find one in pretty good condition. I never had a lot of these mini comics later on as an adult collector, but I said to myself, now may be a good time for me to go ahead and start collecting a lot of these. You can find them for pretty cheap. Gets a lot harder if you want to own them in really good condition. This one is probably, in my opinion, about a 5.0, possibly 6.0. I'm not sure how hard CGC would grade something like this. Regardless, something pretty cool that you don't see too often in people's collections. At number 10, we have a first appearance, but not in a US comic. It is L'Uomo Ragno number 149. This is the first appearance of the Punisher in Italy, believe it or not. It was published in 1976. Another recent pickup of mine, but classic Romita cover. You guys know how much I love this cover. I own a 129, which you may see on the list at another point. But you also know I have been fascinated with some of these foreign issues, especially key issues with great covers. So if I could get them for cheap, that's what I've been doing. I have a couple of these foreigns right now, so to me, to own another copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 129 in an Italian version, I thought for the money I paid, might as well snatch it up. Either way, a pretty cool book. At number 9 is, guess what? Amazing Spider-Man number 129, the first appearance of Frank Castle and the Punisher. Now, my copy is a CGC 8.5 with off-white to white pages, signed by the great John Romita Sr. on April 22nd of 2021. Now, I've had numerous different copies of ASM 129 over my lifetime. At one point, owning as many as 6. I am now down to 1. This beauty right here. To me, with a book that's readily available like this one, I wanted to narrow it down with a Signature Series book and having Romita sign this one, even though I know it's him and Gil Kane who did this cover. One of the best covers, in my opinion, that's ever been done. For me, it's number 9. Speaking of John Romita Sr., at number 8 is his best cover and his first cover, in my opinion, Amazing Spider-Man number 39. Now, my copy is a CGC Signature Series 5.0, again, with off-white to white pages. This one is not only signed by John Romita Sr., but also signed by Stan Lee. The cool thing about this book is that this book was available through auction on Instagram, and nobody was bidding on this book. I decided to go ahead and message the seller and say, hey, you willing to sell this book for this price? He said yes, and I got an absolute steal on this book. I'm talking about $500 for a double sig of one of the most influential Spider-Man books of all time. It's only at number 8 for me, believe it or not, and you've heard me say this before. This is my favorite cover in comics ever. Okay, at number 7 is some more Romita goodness, the trifecta, Amazing Spider-Man number 50. You guys know I call this book that. Spider-Man No More, iconic cover, iconic storyline. My copy is a super high grade CGC 8.0 with off-white to white pages, signed by Stan Lee and none other than John Romita Sr. What can I say about this book that I have not already said? It is so important to Spider-Man lore. You guys know I've owned multiple copies as well, but this one is really important to me to have in the collection because both of these incredible creators have signed this book. And it was incredibly important to me to get both of them to sign it. So again, I personally did not get them to sign it, but finding one with dual signatures for a good price was awfully tough, but it's only at number 7 on my top 10. At number 6 for me is one of my favorite characters growing up as a kid. It is Incredible Hulk number 1. My copy is a CGC 1.5 with off-white pages, signed by the great Stan Lee. Now for me, I've owned 3 copies of Incredible Hulk number 1 over my lifetime. each one in a lower grade. So this is the lowest grade I have ever owned, but having this book signed by Stan to me is important. This is his second best creation in my opinion outside of Spider-Man. For Jack Kirby, this is his best cover of all time, bar none. Incredibly creative. The colors are bright. I love this book. Very important character for me growing up as a kid, so I'm really happy to finally have a copy that I want to keep in the collection for the long term. At number 5 is something really cool that I didn't even know about until about 4 or 5 years ago. It is Action Comics number 12. Now, if you guys aren't aware, inside this book is the first appearance of Batman. Now, you're going to say, wait, Detective Comics number 27 is the first appearance of Batman. But in this book, there actually is a snippet, an actual small picture of Batman himself, predating Detective Comics number 27. I thought it was incredibly cool, but what makes it more cool is I didn't spend a lot of money for this book. It is incomplete and one of the few incomplete books that I have in my collection. This is a repro cover, and I believe there's a couple other reproduction pages inside this book as well, but the coupon inside is definitely legit, and that's why I bought this book. I only spent about $1,300 to own it just to have that coupon. To me, it was worth it, but I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments. Coming in at number 4 is a book I remember seeing on the wall at my local comic shop growing up as a kid. It is Amazing Spider-Man number 1. My copy, another incomplete one, is CGC 0.5 with off-white pages with the back cover missing and the front cover detached. There's a small amount of dry glue on the cover. CGC calls this book incomplete, obviously because it is, but the reason why I bought this book, outside the fact that I got an incredible deal on it, was because it presents like a 3 to 3.5 rather than a 0.5. I always talk about on my channel that I don't want to overspend on comics, and I knew that I definitely wanted to own an AF-15 going forward, hint hint. So to me, I did not want to break the bank owning this book. I just wanted to own it. If you follow my channel for a while, you know I have a collection of Amazing Spider-Man number 1 all the way through 301, so doing this on the cheap was incredibly important. It still was a pricey book, but I got it like 6 or 7 years ago, so I did not pay a lot of money for it, but I did want a nice presenting copy. Rounding out the top 3, it's a big one. It's Superman number 1. Now, this is the lone restored book left in my collection. If you guys remember, I did have a Batman 1 that was restored and a Detective Comics 31 that was restored that I no longer have in the collection. You'll see why in a little bit. But regardless, when I saw this book come up for auction, I purchased it off Comic Link a while back. I knew I had to try to get it. Now, I tried at some point to get a different copy of Superman 1. It kind of fell through. But what I paid for this book, I thought was worth it, considering this is a CGC, no grade, with restoration that reads pieces added, tear seals, and reinforced. Cover is a color copy. It also has off-white pages. Now, my plan with this book is to try to submit it to someone who can remove the restoration and see if we can get this book into a blue label NG. I have been told that they think it can be done. So it's all about the price, what it's going to cost, and going forward to see if I'm actually going to do it. But either way, having a Superman 1 in the collection is awfully cool in my opinion. A book that I never thought I could own growing up as a kid. And to be honest, it wasn't even on my radar. But I do think having a piece of history, and I talk about this a lot on my channel, the history of some of these characters are very important, and to be a part of that is important to me. At number 2 is probably the book that everyone thought was going to be the number 1 book in my collection, but it is no longer. It is Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man. Now, my copy is a CGC 2.5 with off-white to white pages, but it was signed by Stan Lee on January 14th of 2018. Like Hulk number 1 in my collection, I have owned many copies of AF-15, ranging from a 1.0 all the way through a 3.0, but I wanted this 2.5 signed by Stan Lee for a reason. Having this book signed by its creator was incredibly important to me, considering how much Stan Lee has meant to the character of Spider-Man, and how much Spider-Man has meant to all the young boys out there who grew up with the character, including myself. My copy is a really nice looking copy for a 2.5 outside of the bottom left hand corner with a little chunk missing out of it. There is no Marvel chipping whatsoever. The only defect for this book is right under Spider-Man's arm. Somebody in pencil decided to go ahead and sign their name, but thank God Stan signed his name over it, so only a little part of that signature is visible. It's actually written in pencil, so I actually thought to myself I might someday try to get that removed, but right now I really don't want to mess with the beauty of this book. I still to this day think this book is the most important book in comic book history, the most relatable character to all comic fans out there, and it's just a book I think everybody wants to own. I'm happy to own this one in the collection, and someday hope to pass it down to one of my own. So we're finally at the top spot, and the book that actually replaced Amazing Fantasy 15 as the number 1 book in my collection. I've thought long and hard for a while whether or not I wanted to share this book with everyone out there, but most of you know I sold my Batman 1. I traded my Tech 31 for books, which I then turned around and sold, but back in October, I was able to pick this book up, and the members of my channel have known for quite a while that I've owned this thing, but here we have it. It is Detective Comics number 27. Now, before you jump out of your seat, this copy is an NG, which means no grade. The cover, the first, the second, and the third wraps and centerfold are all color copies. It also has cream to off-white pages. When I saw this book come up for sale, I was immediately interested, but knew that if I was going to go ahead and purchase this book, that I had to lay off a bunch of my books that I had in my collection. But I decided to go ahead, take that risk, and actually purchase it in New York Comic Con in 2024. I actually had a really great experience with the sellers, exchanging the funds for the book. We got into a great conversation about the books we owned in the past and the books we're going to own in the future. So to me, it was a no-brainer. I was so happy to pick up this book. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I know it's incomplete, but there are repro pages, which makes the book complete in my eyes. But when was I going to buy a Detective Comics number 27 for the price I got it, which I'm not going to reveal, by the way. If you're a member of my channel, you know back when I did a small documentary about me chasing a Detective Comics number 27. I actually did not win that book, but when this book came up for sale, I immediately messaged the seller, and we kind of had a back and forth, and I didn't think I was going to be able to pull this thing off, but he ended up working with me. We did something that I didn't think was possible, end up flying in from where he was at to New York Comic Con 2024 with the seller himself, because it was a broker deal, and we actually ended up exchanging the funds for the book. This might be the only known ghost of a Detective Comics number 27 out there that actually presents the way it presents, and that was part of the reason why I went ahead and bought this book. But I think I'm like one of 70 people out there who own a Detective Comics 27 in a blue label. Yes, I do still understand it's an NG, but I'm okay with that. I own a piece of comic book history, the history of these characters, and then in turn their history on me.